It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. Vanderbilt, which gave up just 3 runs over the 3 games in the SEC tournament, was awarded the number 1 overall national seed in the NCAA baseball tournament. Yesterday, the Commodores were among a record 13 team from the Southeastern Conference to be selected to the 64-team field. Tennessee is the 14th seed, playing host to Miami of Ohio, Cincinnati, and Wake Forest. The tournament opened Friday with 16 double elimination regionals. Winners advance to 8 best-of-3 super regionals. Those winners move on to the Men's College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska, beginning June 13th. Speaking of Vanderbilt, former Commodore Zach Cunningham is signing with the Lions. Cunningham played in 20 games the past 2 seasons with 89 total tackles. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. 2:20 p.m. later today, we'll be joined by Coach Mack for his weekly Mack Attack, brought to you by Tourist Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer. And I've been asked to make sure that everybody knows, 5 o'clock p.m. today on 3HL. University of Tennessee baseball head coach Tony Vitello will be on, so make sure that you guys tune in for that. Okay. Cool. Speaking of, we talked about it on Friday. I went and saw the new Mission Impossible movie, Blaine. It was very good.
I give it just a little bit above good.
Oh, it was. It is. I
saw it too.
You did? I liked it. It was a very good way to end the series if they choose to end it, but it's also left open
if you want to,
just in case. But they wrapped up.
I think that was
so
more
many
for me
storylines.
about the slow start for me. Yeah. I think that's what got me. Then as it went on, it was really good.
Yeah, they had a lot of things that tied back to the first movie, a lot of little Easter eggs and stuff. It's kind of like the season finale clip show of some of these shows. Like when they were ending the show, they'd do all these flashbacks and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was that without being too in your face that this could be the last show or last movie.
Even though they keep saying it is the last show, they left the door open. That's for sure.
Well, but right before the movie started, I pulled out my phone, pulled out the ESPN app, bottom of the second or top of the second, can't remember which one it was. Vandy was up 5-0. By the time
we're talking about Vandy versus Tennessee baseball, by the way.
Baseball. Vandy was up 5-0. By the time the movie ended, and we went to this place in the little shopping center where the movie theater is at. By the time the movie ended, game was over, 10-0, Vanderbilt, and it was a whooping. And then it wasn't a whooping in a traditional way because all 13 of Vanderbilt's hits were singles, Blaine.
Yeah, they played old school, moving around the base, bunting. And then they get a critical hit here or there. Man, it was they just kept going and going, and then they couldn't get anything going. I was thoroughly just really disappointed. I really thought that this was going to be a nick and tuck type of game, and they didn't have it. They didn't have it that day, and that happens in baseball. But it was unfortunate because I thought as the build-up with playing in the SEC tournament with Tennessee, the way they were playing, you didn't see that coming.
Right.
You didn't see that. And then you can just give credit to all of Vanderbilt, the way they played and performed. And it was relentless. I thought they were going to get a hit every time they were at bat.
Right. The Commodores became the first team in 25 years to score at least 10 runs in an SEC tournament game without a single extra base hit. Only 2 other teams have done it. Florida in 2000 versus South Carolina, and Vanderbilt versus Auburn in 1980. This was the first time Tennessee has been shut out in more than a year. Last time was May 12th, 2024, also versus Vanderbilt.
No way.
Yep.
Did you know that?
The Commodores are the only team. He's leaving. I think he's leaving. The Commodores are the only team to shut out the Volunteers in the past 2 seasons.
I was just about to say, when was the last time they got shut out? I said, I don't recall them getting shut out not over the last couple of years. And then Vanderbilt was this last year. I knew you knew that, Jackson.
They play good defense.
In denial. It's okay. Yeah. Guess what? This could spark them, though. You just don't know. Get them back refocused, and bam. I hope.
I think they make it out of their regional. Arkansas would be a tough super regional to go into.
Well, let me ask you this, because you said that if it was a close loss, you wouldn't really push the panic alarm, and this was not a close loss. 10-0 cannot be close in any stretch of the means. So, Jackson, as a fan, are you on the football? Is this Tennessee a football team? Or are you still locked in to some Tennessee baseball?
I will always be locked into college baseball postseason when my favorite team is playing. So I am locked into baseball. I am concerned about their prospects of going far in this postseason for baseball. But I'm still going to watch. I'm still looking forward to see how this all shakes out. And it was definitely a tough game this weekend in the SEC tournament.
How many SEC teams made it? Do we know?
13.
13. Ooh. Who were the teams that did make it? Kentucky?
I don't know. So Tennessee obviously gets to host a regional, right? Knoxville. They have Maryland and Wake Forest and Cincinnati play the other game, so they'll be facing Maryland. Vanderbilt, who got the number 1 overall seed in the nation, is going to play Wright State here in Nashville. Then Louisville and ETSU are in the other side of the bracket. So Texas made it. Then you have Ole Miss made it. Georgia made it. LSU made it. Kentucky made it. Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, and Oklahoma, and I believe Alabama.
I was just about to say, did Alabama make it?
Yeah, they're a football school anyway, so we don't talk about. No, I mean,
Alabama baseball's all right now.
They're fine. I wouldn't say they're anything to write home about. They're not very good. But they made it to the tournament. Anything can happen. Now, I will say this. Vanderbilt's the number 1 overall seed. We know that a lot of number 1 seeds rarely win the championship. So, Jackson, are you okay with number 14, Tennessee? Does that boost your optimism that maybe they do go far and can repeat because they aren't the number 1 seed?
I would probably say that if they were the 3 or the 4 seed. I think 14's a little bit further down. Although, I mean, anything can happen. This is a very talented Tennessee team, but I don't see them putting everything together right at the perfect time.
Let me ask you,
because they haven't done it all season. Right?
Yeah, I just don't see everything magically coming together this weekend.
There's always that game that they just seem to just not show up to lately. And in all these series is even kind of carried over into the tournament is they look good for a couple of games and then they drop a stinker around there.
Now they did know it was going to be, the game was moved up, so they did have to change the schedule. Both teams did.
Right.
So, I mean, sometimes you just never know what that does to certain teams. I don't know. I don't think it did, but.
And let me ask you a question. Ramon and Buck were talking about the importance of head coaches in the NFL this morning on Ramon and Will. And because Mike Vrabel's Patriots are favored in 11 games, which is
that was
ridiculous. But in baseball, where do you rank the importance of the coach because of all the strategy that's in the roster lineups and everything? And the reason I ask is because Tim Corbin has obviously been there, done that. So has Tony Vitello, obviously. But Vanderbilt's team only has a few players that have been through the tournament and all that kind of stuff. A lot of their players haven't made it this far or have made it far in a tournament, whereas UT is returning a lot of people that have been in the tournament that know what it takes to win. Same with a couple of guys from the Ole Miss team and all this kind of stuff that they transferred in. So how much is the players' experience going to factor into the tournament for both of these teams?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I do wonder because I do think that Tim Corbin has done really well with what he's got, which is an inexperienced group. And I wonder how much of this is that Tim Corbin magic and the team buying in. And listen, they got all the data and history tells you don't bet on Vanderbilt to win this championship. But really, how many teams are as hot as Vanderbilt is right now heading into these these tournaments right here, the regional tournaments, before they even get into the super regional.
Well, naturally, pitching always is first and foremost. But, I mean, they've been pretty solid all year round. They got some young guys that are bringing the bats. So I don't know if I think strategy more than anything. So I think the coach does. I think not having experience in the tournament, sometimes you could say it is, but based off what they've done this season, I don't think it's as big of a factor in baseball. I think they can overcome it. It's just like when you get a young 18-year-old, and all of a sudden now you're playing in something you don't know any better.
Yeah.
You may be excited, that you're there, and also to prove that you belong there. So it can work both ways. I think Corbin's one of the best to kind of play those kind of mind games and makes things not as pressure-packed like it should be. And, I think he's kind of proven and solidified, he is, we all know he's a great coach, but, man, he's brought him back with the new way and era of how you got to recruit and the NIL and everything else. And with the standards that Vanderbilt always has with the academics, it's always tough when they get in the tournament. So now that that's over with the school, I think pretty much – I think they can go pretty far. I don't know about winning it, but I would say they would have to be one of the top teams. I would.
I think they're the fourth highest odds to win, or fourth best odds to win the tournament.
Think about this. How many of their team? They're the number one overall seed. You tell me. How many guys made All SEC? I'm gonna tell you 0. I think All SEC first team.
I think you're right on that.
I think only 1 or 2 guys made second team. So that shows you this is a well-rounded team, and coaches does play a part in it.
See, that to me is like, it feels like Tim Corbin has this team prepared and not to have pretty much the moment never seems too big for this team ever since that UT game. And listen, that, like we talked about, that UT game being a pivot point for both of these franchises. Now, listen, Tennessee has rebounded pretty well. I know they didn't win against Arkansas, and I know they didn't make it far into the tournament. Or they made it pretty far in the tournament itself, but I know they didn't have the desired outcome. But they looked like a different team after the Vanderbilt game. The difference is Vanderbilt looked like an even better version of the Vanderbilt team that beat Tennessee. And so, to me, it's like, that feels a lot like Tim Corbin and keeping the message grounded and keeping them, making sure that they stay focused and don't let the moment become too big for these younger players.
Also solidifying everybody's role. Sometimes it'll take half a season. Sometimes it could take almost a whole season to kind of feel comfortable as a head coach.
Changing up everything.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. I think he's probably one of the best to kind of figure that out sooner than later, and probably has a gauge even coming into the season. But how many guys made All SEC first or second team with Vanderbilt?
No first team, 1 second team.
That's exactly what I said.
Yep.
Well, how do you view
that's team? That's team, and that's coaching.
That's right. So, Jackson, how do you view the coach's role in baseball, the importance of it, and how do you view the experience on the roster for the University of Tennessee versus, technically, I don't like to say inexperience, but maybe not the correct experience with Vanderbilt?
I think experience on the roster matters more. And that's not because I think, although Tim Corbin's experience supersedes that in a lot of cases, but if you look at Tennessee's championship-winning team last year, a lot of them were on the 2022 team that was one of the best teams in regular season college baseball, and they went to Omaha with Tennessee in 2023. A lot of those draft-eligible juniors had been to Omaha. They had won at Tennessee before, and that helped Tennessee propel themselves to a national championship last year.
It's interesting. I see where you're coming from. Don't necessarily think that you're wrong, but I do think that, like, in baseball, because of the strategy, the lineups, the pitching decisions you have to make, all that stuff that comes down to coaching is super important. It feels like Tim Corbin right now is coaching on another level than almost anybody he's faced and probably will face at the start of this tournament. It'll be really interesting to see how far Vanderbilt can go because, like we have said, history is unkind to the 1 seed. And so hopefully maybe they'll at least make it pretty far to where maybe we get at the College World Series. Maybe Vanderbilt versus Tennessee in the tournament at some point. That would be so fun.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Would it be fun?
Well, I think so. I mean, if you want to be the best, beat the best.
I have not had fun. Tennessee versus Vanderbilt.
Why do you guys always run from competition? You want to play the best.
We've played the best.
No, it was. Revenge is always a you know what.
It is.
You're going to win some, and you're going to lose some.
And I will say
guess
this.
what? You're not going to dictate the story. We'll play you again. We'll see you around. That's how and that's the mindset. I know not of fans. That's of the actual athlete. Guess what? You're not going to do. I'm not going to keep T.O. from scoring a touchdown every freaking time they throw to him.
Well, JC Latham.
Right.
What did he say about Will Anderson on his spot with Busting the Boys? He was looking forward to round 2.
Yeah, he was looking forward to round 2.
They got me in round 1. I'm looking forward to round 2.
Yeah, he said playing in Texas, but he said I used to do really well against him in practice, and he had great tempo in practice. And I thought it would be like the game. It was not. He was much better in the game because he had improved as a pass rusher.
Right.
That's what he said on Busting with the Boys.
That 1 year after the first freshman year, or the freshman of NFL year, I guess you should say, his first rookie year, Will Anderson added a lot to the bag in year 2. Dixie brings up a great point in the F&M Bank chat on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. Vandy has depth, which can arguably be just as valuable as experience. Their 10th pitcher is as good as most teams' 5th pitcher. So there you go. When we come back, we'll get to the phone, 615-737-1045. We'll get to John, who wants to talk about Vanderbilt baseball. We'll also talk about those exciting NBA games, which the conference finals are delivering right now. Cannot wait for tonight's game. This is the Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Who's in the Final Four?
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. We've been talking about Vanderbilt baseball versus Tennessee and the regionals coming up. We got 3 NBA games to kind of talk about as well. We're also going to talk about JC Latham and what he had to say about the Tennessee Titans in his first year when he was on Busted with the Boys. That was pretty good. Great insight to JC Latham, the person, and JC Latham, the leader in the locker room. We're going to break all that down as well. But let's go to the phones to go to John, who wants to talk about Vanderbilt baseball. John, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I think I can answer both questions about how far each one of these teams will go based on their coaches. Number one, I think Coach V has taken the bridle out of the mouth of these ball players, and anytime you do that, if they don't have that discipline, then they're going to make mental mistakes that they should not make, because Vitello has said, hey guys, go out there and use your talent, and he's lost some of his control of the kids, I think. And I do want to say right on the very front end, I'm a Vanderbilt guy, but I just see that happening with UT. Now on the other side, when you got Vanderbilt, I think the sky's the limit for them, because Corbs has put in those guys not only fundamentals of baseball, he's put life growth men in their baseball mind as well, and how they react to certain things and what they must do in certain situations in life. And I really believe that's what's going to separate these two teams as they play the regional, the super regional. Then hopefully both of them could get on to Omaha. That's my take.
Well, just real quick, John, before you go, are you saying now, for lack of a better phrase, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm just trying to understand. You said Tony Vitello has taken the bridle off his players. Are you saying that he's sort of lost, I guess, structure to the way that his team plays?
Absolutely. I think that last year he had that structure with these guys. Even though they're a more senior team than what Vandy is, they are just I don't know, UT. It seems like when they get in the dressing room, he's lost that, hey guys, all right, let's everybody shut up and listen for a minute. They've got that, lack of a better way, they've taken that bridle out of their mouth. And that's going to hurt these young men, because, you got to have some of that discipline, and you got to have some of that structure over the talent that an individual has, because I think you see that a lot in NBA. These guys run just strictly on talent, and they run up and down that court, and they lose some of that discipline. And that's why I think the Pacers are going to go that far. I didn't mean to get them into it, but I think they have more structure. I hope I answered it.
Gotcha. Thank you, John. What do you think about that, Blaine? I mean, I don't watch every University of Tennessee baseball game. I'll be.
Jackson probably be better off.
But Jackson, do you feel that there is an element of, I guess, wildness to this Tennessee team?
There's always been an element of that, because Tony Vitello embodies that.
So expand on that.
He's got that fire, he's got the, I don't really know how to.
He's jumping into the crowd.
He's jumping into the crowd after winning a national championship. He's getting thrown
he
out. He
recruits players like that too.
Yeah, and he gets thrown out of games. And I don't think it's a lack of structure. I think everybody understands that when Tony talks, you listen. I don't really understand what the point of that is.
It's just more of a looseness to his vibes.
I don't really understand how. I think
I'm trying to bring it there, but I think I just don't agree.
This is a critique. When you lose, you can always say this about his teams. But if you win, you can't really say that because I don't think he's changed at all. He's been the exact same guy. Now, what's changed is his guys. But guess what? It's his guys that he picked that have the ilk of this cockiness that he likes. Sometimes that can backfire on you. I don't think that's the case in this instance. So I kind of disagree because, first of all, none of us are in the locker room. He said in the locker room, I'm like, hey, man, I think he's got their ear. So I don't know if I could really say that. I just think that's the type of players he likes to recruit. Yeah. To be honest.
Yeah, I get maybe from the outside looking in, it may look that way, but I think that it's controlled chaos. For maybe that's the term to use, is that everybody's on the same page, everybody's understanding of the assignment, but we play a little bit looser or baseball, and I coach a little bit looser as well. I don't know if loose is the right word either.
I think it's a classic argument of old school versus new school. Tim Corbin is very stoic, old school mentality coach. Tony Vitello is not that. He's very new age, and his players embody that. Corbin's players embody that philosophy. It's just two different philosophies. Both, by the way, have won national championships. So I don't think it's a bad thing on Tennessee's side. It's just something you're going to critique when they're losing because it's new to the sport, and some people don't like it, especially when you're playing against them often.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that's a good way to look at it.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
I mean, but he just said it a little more eloquently than I did. And I think that's always going to be the case around him as the coach, wherever he's at, whether he's at Tennessee or anywhere else. I just believe his styles. Either you like it or you don't, and that's why he recruits those kind of players.
Well, John brought up the Pacers, and the Pacers ended up going to the second game in New York, winning that game. They come back to Indiana, and they lose 106-100. And, of course, the New York Knicks at that point, at a certain point in the game, they were basically looking at a third consecutive playoff loss. Jalen Brunson was on the bench with 5 fouls. After 3 quarters, Karl Anthony Towns then had to take matters in his own hands. And basically, Towns scored 20 of his 24 points of that game in the fourth quarter. They erased a 20-point deficit, and then Brunson helped close out the 106-100 victory Sunday night, making it 3 straight wins for the road team in this series. It was a true test for the Knicks. The Knicks have shown a habit of being able to come back in these moments. We saw it with the Celtics series. Blaine, Indiana, plays at home again tonight against the Knicks. What are you thinking about this Indiana team right now? Because I do still like their chances because they were able to steal 2 at home. But if the Knicks are able to steal 2, they stole 2 at New York. If the Knicks are able to steal 2 at the Pacers, it's game on.
Yeah, this game, I thought the Knicks would win this series. I was naturally cheering for the Pacers, of course, being an Indiana guy. But, I'm a little concerned if I'm the Pacers. And here's why I say that, because I think Thibodeau may have figured something out, and I think Bronson may have figured something out. And when I say that, Bronson was only on the bench because he was in foul trouble. So it forced Thibodeau's hand to then expand his rotation.
Yeah.
And then now you see a deeper bench and guys playing more minutes off the bench and then contributing. So he may have figured something out. But while Bronson was sitting there on the bench, he got to watch how Towns went to work, who wasn't playing well all the way till the end when he just put up 20 and just took over those 20 points there in the fourth quarter. So now, will Bronson, this next game, understand instead of playing iso ball, you just be the guy at the end to hit, clutch shots and then let the ball rotate to everybody and you be more of a team, more oriented as far as offensively.
Yeah.
And if he does, I think, the Pacers are going to be in trouble. If not, I still think the Pacers got a great shot. But because, man, that there was eye-opening. I think they were just forced to get deeper on their bench because of Bronson's foul trouble, and they took over. Towns took over.
Yeah.
And they still were running their offense. It's just that when he did his ISO, it was opportunities, and he made the most of them, so they stayed with him with the hot hand. So I think the key also in this game is Nesmith, if he's going to be able to be available with the ankle injury.
Yeah.
He's averaging 16 points, but he's a defender as well. a really athletic group, man. This is a great series here, right here, man. I really enjoy going back and forth because both teams are very resilient. They're never going to give up until the clock says 0, man. So that's pretty cool to watch and see how hard they're playing.
Brunson finished with 23 points despite spending most of the night in foul trouble. The Knicks never led by more than 4 points until the final free throw with 2.6 seconds left, which is crazy. Here's what Towns had to say after the game. They put me in a great spot to succeed, and I just want to capitalize on the opportunity. All of us are just trying to do whatever it takes to win, get ourselves back in the game. We wanted to put ourselves in a position to where at the end of the game we found ourselves with the chance of winning. He also ended the night not only with just 24 points, but 15 rebounds as well for Towns. Halliburton, he was there, 20 points and 6 assists, but it feels like that seems very low compared to what he has been throughout this playoff run that the Pacers have been on. Again, got to see what they do tonight. I'm kind of with you. If the Knicks win tonight, I feel like the tide has turned, and the Pacers are now having to kind of play defense on their home turf instead of being on the offensive, heading into this game, because really they could have had a chance to close out if they would have won yesterday and just put their foot on the throat of the Knicks. And now the Knicks have battled back and can make this a game. If they win tonight, I feel like the Knicks win the series.
Yeah, it's just going to be a game of adjustment. So I'm interested to see, what's the counter moves here, game to game. And this one's going to be a close one because the talent is just that close, and they're both kind of built the same way mentally. And how they play. The Pacers just a lot more energetic, a lot more players that they rotate in and out. So I love that team philosophy like that. And that's what Towns actually said after the interview, after the game. That's what we are. We are a team. And then people had to step up, and that's what they did. And to me, he was saying, FYI, we don't have to just go through Bronson. We got other players on the team, just including myself, but everybody else on this team that can contribute as long as we, share the ball. Mm-hmm. That's what he was saying to me. In a nice roundabout way. And if they do, woo. I mean, then he changed the lineup. Hart didn't even start. Yeah. He switched the lineup even. So that was coaching, and then they finally got it together, figured it out, and then they went on a run. That's woo. I want to see the counter.
Yeah, Nick Ewing in the F&M Bank channel, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live says the Knicks have lost one road game this postseason. So I mean, talking about a team that can play at home and on the road, it's a dangerous combination for anybody that they face in the NBA Finals. Oklahoma City was a different tale. The Timberwolves routed them 143-101 in Game 3. And then last night, because you look at SGA ended up with a 40-point game, but also Ant-Man kind of failed to show up in the first half of this game. They ended up losing just by 2 points, 128-126. And OKC takes a 3-1 series lead. Because of that, they'll play tomorrow night. But SGA, 40 points, which is incredible.
Yeah, and I heard Ant-Man in an interview, and I actually agree with him. He said, I didn't think I had a bad game. He said I was 5 for 13. So basically, I took what was given to me, but I also got my teammates involved. Mm-hmm. And so here's where the media looks at it from one way because they're just looking at his numbers, where he got it. Look how many people scored 20 points outside of him on his team. So he got them involved. So he's in that middle crux of when MJ was putting up 50 and then he was losing series, but then they would lose. And so then he figured out I need to get my teammates involved if we got any shot of winning the game. Now, I do think he's need to come up big in the clutch. That's what the superstars are. So I didn't think he played bad at all. People were trying to say he played bad. I didn't. He went 5 for 13. Maybe should have shot a little bit more because usually he shoots probably double that. But they were doubling. They had a different, they made some adjustments and they were doubling them to this point. And they make it exhausting for him, too. And I think a couple plays here or there, they would have won this game. But, hey, man. OKC is the best all-around team in the Final Four, guys, or, Final Four teams that are left, and they just literally have too much, and their chemistry is there already. I think they just have too much.
Anthony Edwards played 41 minutes, was 5 for 13, 1 of 7 from 3-point.
The turnovers
5
were
to
what
7
big.
from the free throw.
Look at his turnovers. It's his turnovers as well as the team turnovers, I think, were big. I think they had 19 or 20 turnovers.
Yeah, he had 5, and Julius Randle had 5 turnovers. So that's 10 turnovers just between those two.
Speaking of Kentucky, he's the one that ain't stepping up. I think he had 5 points.
He had 5 points for sure.
To me, it's him.
7 rebounds, 5 points, 3 assists, 1 steal for Julius Randle, who played 28 minutes. Dante DiVincenzo and Nickel Alexander-Walker both had 20 points coming off the bench, and then Naz Reid had 11 points coming off the bench. So, in fact, every player that came off the bench had more points than Julius Randle, because even Terrence Shannon Jr. who came off the bench had 9 points.
So I think if Randle would have come through, at least give you, 15 like he normally does, probably a little more than that, but it just in the playoffs, I think they would have won the game. He's just, he's up and down throughout the playoffs. It's unfortunate. He's always going to get critiqued like that. But, yeah. And by the way, what's the name? The Walker kid that was for the Timberwolves? I think he is Shea Alexander's cousin. They were on the same basketball team in high school, and I went and watched them play versus Darius Garland and them at BA. And that was back then. I didn't even know this school existed in Chattanooga. It was foreign players and different. It was really weird, but I couldn't get any detail. I was talking to people who worked on administration to ask them. Yeah, that's why they have the 2 last names. So I thought that was interesting that both of those guys are actually in the league, and Shea is actually MVP. That's crazy.
SGA with 40 points, Jalen Williams with 34, and Chet Holmgren with 21. And then just off the bench, Alex Caruso with 10. But basically, it was the SGA show, 40 points from him. Jalen Williams, of course, 34, and then Chet, like I said, 21. It was really those three guys for this team really pulling it through, because everybody else, their 2 other starters, Dort and Hartenstein, combined for 6 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is and their bench wasn't that much better. No. So this really came down to the 3 players that I just named. And really, Julius Randle, I mean, again, they lost by 2 points. So Julius Randle, with his 5 points, probably is the bigger issue than what Anthony Edwards had. And I know that Anthony Edwards is supposed to be the guy.
Yeah.
But you can only be, sometimes you may not be the guy that night. And you need other people to step up, and Julius Randle really did not step up.
Here's what happens. You become conflicted as the player, as the superstar like N is. Okay, so the media comes to him and said he played bad because they just looking at the number, right? He says, I did not play bad. He says this to the media.
Yeah.
So what do you think he did? Because he said, I got everybody involved. When they doubled me, they made shots.
Yeah, I would have to agree, looking at it from that perspective, saying, I got everybody involved, and you look at what the bench was able to do with his presence and double team. He opened things up for other people. It's just that these guys like Julius Randle and even Mike Conley weren't able to take advantage. When someone's getting doubled, someone has to take advantage of it, right?
Yeah.
And you'd expect a Mike Conley or really Julius Randle to take advantage of someone else getting doubled, and he could not take advantage of it.
And lastly, Williams, to me, they got to hold in the wraps. They can't let the number 2 guy go off like that. Shea MVP got you. They can't let him. He was on fire. He was like the Y. He was out there laughing and everything in the fourth quarter, making shots.
Right.
I mean, mid-range, deep, and going to the rack. He made that shot when Shea was falling down. I think he really traveled, but he went through the guy's legs because he fell down, and the guy makes a shot, and he's just laughing like, dang, man. I'm like, wow.
When we come back, we'll talk about what JC Latham had to say about the Titans offseason, about his rookie year, all from clips of Bussin' with the Boys. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Ever wonder how I keep my mojo? Well, hey, it's Blaine Bishop here, and if you're looking for the best tacos in town, you gotta check out Mojo's Tacos. They've got 3 amazing locations, including my favorite spot in Nolensville. And Mojo's Tacos is where the magic happens. Whether you're craving their mouth-watering carne asada, the delicious fish tacos, or the famous street corn, they've got it all. And don't forget to try their house-made salsa that packs a whopping punch. And each location has a great vibe, perfect for the family night out and catching up with your friends. Plus, their friendly staff will make you feel right at home. So head on over to Mojo's Tacos and taste the difference. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Mojo's Tacos, 3 locations and 1 unforgettable experience.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all 4 Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Phase 3 of the Titans offseason program is starting back up today. OTA, 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s are now allowed in this current phase, so we'll see how all of that goes. But one of the more important players of this team, JC Latham, was recently on Bussin' with the Boys podcast. And with that, just to keep in mind, this was taped a couple of days after rookie minicamp. So just a couple of weeks ago. So it's not like he recorded it yesterday or over the weekend. It was a couple of weeks ago. So I just want to throw that out there. But overall, not only does JC Latham look good, we saw him, of course, in some pictures and stuff recently the Tennessee Titans have released, and he looks very in shape, and we'll talk more about that later. But the way that he's talked about his journey and the way that he talked about how he handled his first losing season since elementary school in football, it just goes to show that is, to me, I know there are many different styles of leader, but that is a guy that is a leader for this locker room and a good foundation for the Tennessee Titans for the next few years, hopefully with a guy that earns a second contract. But that is a dude, and you have talked about it numerous times about how you knew from like day one that dude was a leader, and his background tells you his upbringing, stuff he had to overcome, everything that he talks about in this interview all points in a neon flashing light. This dude's a leader. Yeah, no doubt about it. You understood. Especially, I didn't know his backstory, and then all the ebbs and flows and how he learned and how he processes information, how he thinks about it first before he does it. Leader to leader, that's born to breed. Some people talk like they're leaders, but they're not really leaders. This dude right here, you knew instantly when he got up to the mic last year as a rookie, I said, this dude is different. He is a true leader. And he's showing his leadership now by moving from left to right. He act like it's nothing to it. Like he's going back, I'm doing it for the team, and it's no big deal. And how he found out the information and everything else is a little odd. He didn't get it by the coaches. I get it because they don't know until they're going to actually sign the actual player. Yeah, man. And so I was thoroughly impressed. Bussin' with the Boys did an outstanding job like they always do with the interview and just getting some nuggets out of there. Him growing up and how his dad and him kind of would go back and forth when he was a youngster and, how he even got to IMG. So, it was pretty good because he lived in Wisconsin at the time, but he's from Mississippi, I think is how it came about. I was really, just hearing this whole story, man. And then how he was a D lineman initially. And then coming out, he thought he was going to be a D lineman, and then he moved to offense. And then he said he was just going to try it out. They really didn't have depth there at IMG. Yep. He said then 1 year in, I was like, I kind of like being over here. It's okay. Meridian, Mississippi. Then to Catholic Memorial, which is in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Then IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Then, of course, to Alabama. He also talked about, how he ended up going to Alabama and becoming a right tackle. Was that he saw everybody line up, and all the offensive line coach said, just line up where you think you want to play. I guess his day one of practice, and all these guys lined up on the left side. So he saw nobody on the right side, so he lined up on the right side because he wanted to make sure that he was going to get to play, get to start. And they talked about that transition from left tackle in high school to right tackle over there in Alabama. And he said, well, I leaned into what I already felt comfortable doing. I already felt comfortable moving to my right, because I am right-handed. He says I was comfortable using my right hand. So to me, that's what I leaned into that first year. And then he developed a strength, developed on that, and became a guy that was drafted in top 10, top 7, obviously, for the Tennessee Titans. A guy who thought that he may go pick number 5 because of the way that Harbaugh and then the media connected everything to the Chargers, and he thought he may go to pick number 5, but he hasn't said. But he thought he was going to go to Michigan. Oh, yeah. That's why he for sure, he just knew Harbaugh was going to take him. Yeah. So it was really interesting. Dixie says right here, one of their best interviews ever. They just let him talk, and I think that's true. Really they didn't overstep the bounds because he's such a natural talker. And everything that he kind of said was, to me, just when you're that natural in front of a microphone, And he showed that. You were right. He showed that in his introductory press conference, right? How natural he was. Because a lot of these college kids, we had this discussion numerous times, is that they're not in front of a microphone all the time. They're not having to do press conferences and take questions and all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of that's lacking. It's usually the coach, right? The coaches are the ones in front of the microphone taking those questions. So a lot of these college kids aren't that comfortable in front of a microphone. We've seen a couple of those people roll through here at Tennessee as well. And he was just such a natural. And he didn't shy away from any kind of question. He answered all the questions thoroughly. It was really good. And like I said, when we come back, we'll play more of the clips because there was stuff about his weight, changes from college to pro, what it was like to play on a bad team. Because like I said, this was his first time playing on a bad team since elementary school. He even talked a little bit about Will Levis's struggles in 2024, what they were able to do as an offense, all that kind of stuff is, to me, the biggest takeaway is at the time, and I knew this last year. I mean, obviously, a little bit of Alabama bias probably creeped in, but like once you heard him speak, once you saw that he was standing out in the rain, doing reps after practice, like all this stuff, you knew this dude. The Titans got him one, and at the end of the day, my biggest takeaway is more confirmation that the Titans got him one.
Yeah, well, the confirmations is they should put C on his chest. It ain't even close.
I mean, based on what we have heard for him say about starting off 0-3, he should have like 2 C's. He should be just the only captain at this point. I mean, we'll tell you what impressed us when we come back. You'll also hear from JC Latham. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 26 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we are now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. So pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations, repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But I always tell them, Blaine Bishop sent you.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
It is 1:59. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Jackson Williams. Vanderbilt, which gave up just 3 runs over 3 games in the SEC tournament, was awarded the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA baseball tournament yesterday. The Commodores were among a record 13 teams from the SEC to be selected to the 64-team field. Tennessee was the 14th seed, playing host to Miami of Ohio, Cincinnati, and Wake Forest. The tournament opens Friday with 16 double elimination regionals. Winners advance to 8 best-of-3 super regionals. Those winners move on to the Men's College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska, beginning June 13th. Speaking of Vanderbilt, former Commodore Zach Cunningham is signing with the Lions. The former Titan Cunningham played in 20 games the past 2 seasons with 89 total tackles. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Ding dong.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. We've been talking about JC Latham and about how, Blaine, you said off air, but you know how everything he was saying you could just relate to.
Oh yeah, as an athlete, so yeah, you speak the same language, so you just know what a guy's made of and what he's all about when he speaks, and not conjecture or what someone else says or perceived, and then spread rumors about what they thought they heard or what happened. That guy has none of that. So you know those things become cancerous in the locker room, and eventually it destroys your locker room. So a guy that's a stand-up guy, the way he talks, totally different. He hasn't changed one iota from the time he was drafted and got up to the podium to today. He's very consistent. And they just got to have a sit-down and busting with the boys, really get some insight into, you know, how he became who he was. And that was really unique in itself, you know, when his dad just told him randomly that you're gonna be leaving, and you know, you got to see if you're gonna like it down wherever he was gonna go. Didn't even tell him where he was going. I'm like, what? Like it was like 7 or 8 or somewhere. I don't know what age it was. Kind of got lost in, you know, in the story there, but it was pretty impressive because they were kind of going back and forth, having battles throughout the time. So I don't know what the environment was like, but it seems like he's turned out to being a stand-up man now at this point.
Well, we got a few clips I want to play for the audience here. Of course, you can listen to the full. And listen, it's a 3-hour episode, so our 4 clips don't even scratch the surface.
I listened to all 3 hours too, because you text me like you listened to the whole thing, so I got to make sure.
I did not.
Jackson did. I
skipped around. I'll be honest. I skipped around on the podcast.
I might have zoomed forward a little bit.
So this first clip that we're going to talk about is, of course, JC Latham. I thought this was interesting, talking about the biggest change from college to pros, because it's something that we have talked about with a couple different players that have struggled entering in their pros and having a hard time finding their footing. Here's what JC Latham has said about the biggest change from college to pros.
Honestly, like really just like the freedom that you get. You know, coming from Bama, everything is you're told what to do on every single level, even as far as when you eat and go to sleep. Like they're telling you like, hey, you guys need to go to bed at this time. You guys need to drink this before you go to bed so you can, you know, hydrate and X, Y, and Z. You guys need to, after practice, we have meal stations, like all this other stuff. You guys got to do it. We have chefs that come in. Like, so being in the NFL where it's like, when you're done, you're just done. Like, you know what I mean? You show up to, like, honestly, if you wanted to, like, not do the extra stuff to be great, like, if you want to show up right 10 minutes before the 8 o'clock meeting and as soon as practice over with, leave, like, that's it. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, right. So it's like to have that self-discipline, that structure to really stay on top of everything, you know, that's like, that was my big, like, okay, this is the NFL. And I saw why guys kind of like, you know, you might see a guy who might not last as long because that self-discipline is like critical to anybody's success. So.
Self-discipline. I mean, I love it. I love everything about that. It speaks so much to, first off, how almost military-like some of these college programs are, making sure that their kids and these players that they have signed to these NIL deals or any kind of deal that they've recruited and said that, hey, here's what you need to do to be great in our program. And then you come over here and it's like you're just thrown in the deep end and you have to figure out what works for you. And it was interesting that he talked about self-discipline, coming to meetings early and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what was your kind of takeaway from that?
While some guys come in the league and then they, once you get out in the wild, it's like going to college if you're a regular student. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden you had all this structure and discipline. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you and Jackson got there and started partying to the tardy. Yep, you weren't self-disciplined. That's what it is. Just the athlete was it playing sports. Then now they get to the pros. It's the exact same thing. How much do you really want to be great? That's what he was really saying. Because guess what? Anybody can make the choice not to stay extra, not to be there early, not to do the hydration at night, not to eat the right way. I mean, not to lift weights extra. I mean, so that's what it is. And then he chose what he chose. And he gave a great example throughout the interview. It was really interesting. And, man, this was when he was a younger kid. I don't know the age, but he said his dad said, hey, I'll be going and leaving early on a daily basis this summer. Now, you can stay and sleep in with your cousins and friends, or you can get up and I can take you to go work out, and you can work out, and then I'll bring you back during my lunch break. He says, I chose every day to go to the workout. How many kids would have done that?
Oh,
so right
he's
there,
definitely in the 1% of that.
Discipline was already innate in him.
Right.
He was always going to choose what could make him great, make him better. So I think it's an easy decision when you're in the shoes that he was in and that he'd done it for years. But some guys, when they get in the league, it's like, okay, I'm free. I can do what I want to do. As soon as the meeting's up, I'm done.
And some people will probably look at it, say, well, and pick and choose what they liked from maybe that regimen, right? Maybe some guys liked waking up early, or, well, I could wake up a little bit later. And sometimes that just snowballs, right?
Right.
Oh, I'll just
right,
wake
Jackson?
up. I'll just wake up 30 minutes later than I did in college. Well, what's another 30 minutes? Yeah. And then it starts adding up. And I do think some of this change from college to pros is also he talked about it too, but like the combine training, how much time is taken away when you're traveling to all these 30 visits or private meetings, and then you have pro days and you have this, and you still got to fit in workouts and among all that. And he talked about how he just felt so disconnected in that offseason from football. He hated the offseason process until he got drafted. He hated that lead up to the draft because he just felt so disconnected because it broke his habit. He was in a habit of working out and doing all these at specific times, and this came in like a wrecking ball to that schedule, and he hated it, and it made him feel disconnected.
All for the show.
All for the show.
The draft show, the individual workouts. That's why I said it's really hard. So when some players come in out of shape, don't get a little bit out of record just because they are not in shape. There's a lot of things that happen. They never got to sit down and take a breather once the season was up, especially a team like Alabama who goes deep into the playoffs or not winning it. I get it. Guys. You love the process, but at the same time, this is really outside of what I want to do to help me accomplish where I'm trying to get to. Training for the combine is like training for an event. And then that event actually is not always going to be making you better as an individual player. Yep. It makes you good to do those drills. So you can do well on those drills. So that doesn't mean you're going to be a great athlete, as we've seen over and over again. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't.
JC Latham also talked about the challenge of maintaining the right weight in the NFL and where he's at currently in his weight. This is JC Latham on that subject.
Well, off the field, like my weight, honestly, I remember specifically.
What are you pushing right now?
Oh, well, now I'm 340. I'm good. Yeah. I'm not going to say I'm good, but I want to get down like 325, 330. But then, cause I was 360 and they were like, hey, we want you to get down to 345. And honestly, I wouldn't say it's kind of cocky, but I kind of say just like coming from Bama, I remember Saban saying the same thing when I hit 360 and all the strength coaches were like, well, he put on 15 pounds of muscle. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like he's going to be okay, and then they saw how I was moving out there and Saban was like, okay, he's good, So having the thumbs up approval from Saban, I was like, okay, I know how this is going to go. They're going to say I need to lose weight. As soon as they see how I move out here, they're going to say I'm good. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? Like this is a different speed. So I definitely should lose weight. But I'm not gonna say I was playing good, but I was playing like relatively like honestly good. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like thinking like, well, I don't think my weight's that much of an issue. And I literally remember thinking that, like, after we played the Chargers, like, because I did a really good job in pass pro, and the only sacks that I remember, Bud Dupree had 2, and it was like off of like a late spin when Will tried to escape the pocket up, and yeah, that's where his sacks came from. And I remember I was like, man, I just played Bosa and Bud Dupree, and I've been doing good up until this point. I don't think my weight's an issue. And like from there, it was really bad. So getting that weight under control for sure. Like,
isn't it crazy? Like the moment you feel like you're good in something, like you get humbled immediately.
Because I think shortly after that we played Houston, and I played Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, and that's when I was like, I gotta lose all this weight. So that was, I mean, because it affected everything. Like, my get off, my finishes down the field, whatever it might be, and like, obviously we're in OTAs now, so we're watching the film from last year, and like, everybody knows I lost weight, but we're just looking at that shit, kind of just like laughing, like what the fuck, like, because it's just so blatant that I was too big.
I mean, he was asked, what's the one thing that you saw on tape that you would like to change, and he goes to the weight, and he's lost around 20 pounds right now. At least as of that recording, he may have lost more since then. He said he was playing at 360, now at 340 at that recording. But he talks about how that affected him. And we talked about, and I've brought it up numerous times, the rookie wall, right? Like, it seems like he hit a wall, and he's kind of describing himself that he hit a wall, but it was really due to something that he can now fix with it, which is his weight, or at least what he attributes to his weight. And now you're talking about a guy that is now 20 pounds less, still looks like the strongest dude on the team by a mile, and he's still wanting to get a little bit slimmer before the season starts because he's wanting to get around 330. So like at this point, I'm looking at it and I go, but this is a dude that's dedicated to doing it, right? I mean, how many times have we talked about players that, like we just said, don't know how to get to this point? And he's getting there, working on it. And he even talks about, hey, I thought I could do it because I did it in college. And how many times have we talked about that player? Well, I did it in college. I should be able to do it in the pros. And everything moves so much faster. At least he's still working on that because he realizes, hey, just because I was able to do it in college and they were okay with it doesn't mean I can get away with it in the pros.
Yeah. His self-assessment and awareness of, what he needs to do is great. I mean, a lot of, people have blinders on and they just don't want to believe what they don't believe. He at least had enough intelligence to say, you know what? They were right. That's what he's really saying here.
Right.
I was getting by and I knew I was doing okay until it did happen. Whether that was the wall or not, I thought he should lose some weight even throughout the season. I mean, I kept saying, he needs to lose 20. I think he needs to be down to 320. So I've been saying that for a while because that was to play left tackle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he is powerful enough. If you listen to that podcast, LaJuan and them talk about his hands, and then they talk about something, and I might have missed it, about how strong he was on something he lifted.
Yeah,
and
I squatted 950 pounds.
Yeah, like something astronomical.
He had
craziness.
A 50-pound resistance band.
He's strong enough.
950 pounds. Like, I don't think that you could lose. Yeah. I don't think he could lose enough weight where he's not going to maintain his strength.
Do you know when you're 360 and you get to 340? That was just water weight.
And he's
that is not he ain't losing no muscle mass.
Yeah. He says that he ran a 4. He thinks that he could have, based on his 10-yard split, he thinks he could have ran a 4.85 40 at like 300. And I guess at that time he was probably 350 to 360 when he was talking about this. So just imagine how quick he's going to look compared to last year. When you're talking about 20 pounds of weight coming off a human being, and he still looks as big as he does, that 20 pounds of weight is, like he said, talks about his explosiveness, his ability to get down the field, all this kind of stuff. That's all going to play into it. I'm expecting a big year, and as you should for a first-round pick drafted in the top 10. But I'm not only just expecting a dude to make a second-year jump, I'm expecting like borderline getting recognized for awards kind of deal. He may not get Protector of the Year, but this could be a future Protector of the Year guy that we're talking about, the new Offensive Lineman Award for the NFL. But like, I'm looking at him and I go like, I expect big things, but he expects big things, right? He expects more of himself. He, like you said, he knows how to handle self-critique, self-assessment, and he knows where he needs to get better. And that's really You got to put it in the action, obviously. But we've seen him do it, right? We thought he played pretty good.
Yeah.
For being
until
left
the
tackle.
end. To the end. As I kept on saying, the last 6 weeks, you go, he's struggling a little bit. So you don't know if it's the wall. Did he need to be in a little bit better shape throughout the season? There's a lot of factors, whether his fault. He talked about spin out sacks. What he's really saying is that wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
I held him long enough.
Yeah. Well, he talked about that on the play with the Texans in the first game against the Texans, where I think Will Levis almost got sacked in the end zone.
Yeah.
And he says, that's supposed to be a quick play. That ball's supposed to be out before that guy even gets there. But Will Levis held on to it. Now, he got the ball out of his hands, but Will Levis held on to it. Now, he says that Will Levis held on to it because nobody was open down the field. But granted, he's like, that will show up against me, but that really isn't my fault.
Yeah. Well, he did admit, though, the guy beat him on the inside. He said so. So I was very thankful that he got the ball out, but I was like, dang it. He said, so those are the type of things, you live and learn. And so things are much faster in the league, as he found out eventually. Even going against a guy he practiced against, and he said that guy was way better, much better with pass rush moves than he was in college. Totally different player. And that shows you when you have this whole bunch of time of free time, who's putting in the work those off seasons to get better, improve as an individual.
And I can guarantee you, I know that JC Latham is.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's no question about it. I'm right there in line with you. I think if he gets Protector of the Year, it'll be more so because of what I think that award should be. It's not a guy who's a Pro Bowler. It's an up-and-coming guy that you need to keep an eye out for the next year for the Pro Bowl.
There you go. When we come back, we'll be joined by Coach Mack for his weekly Mac Attack course, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition, personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So all you have to do is just go check out their services at TOA.com. That's right, TOA.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. It's 2:20 p.m. on a Tuesday. And, of course, you hear the music. That means it's time for our weekly Mac Attack with Coach Mac, and brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer. And, Coach, I hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend. Didn't get any of your activities rained out.
Guys, I hope you guys had the same. We're able to dodge the rain a little bit. Dodged it at practice today, some too, but everything was good. I hope you guys did the same thing, Zach.
Yeah, I was able to get off the golf course right before it started raining. Our golf ended, and maybe it needed to rain a little bit earlier so I wouldn't have to embarrass myself in front of all my friends trying to putt over at Gaylord. It was a tough one on Sunday there. Phase 2 has ended. Phase 3 has begun for the Tennessee Titans today.
Right.
And what about Phase 3? At the start of Phase 3, obviously not pads yet, but they'll be able to see some 7-on-7, 11-on-11s. What are you looking for as a coach from these players?
First of all, if these guys learn, the young guys learn how to practice at speed without pads on, that's extremely important. I thought they had good tempo today when they went 7-on-7, and then when they were able to do some team. Of course, clearly, what you want to do is you want to learn how to practice with speed, but with no collisions, and that's extremely, extremely important for the timing. But during the season, because you're limited to the number of times once the regular season starts, Zach, that you can wear pads, you've got to learn how to practice at tempo, because that's the only way you're going to get timing is at tempo, but without collisions. I thought they did a nice job of that for the first day today, and the weather was good. It wasn't real hot. It wasn't real sticky. Had a nice cloud cover, so everybody had pretty good energy out there today.
I know a lot has been talked about the quarterback competition, but another competition on the defense side of the football is that second inside linebacker spot next to Cody Barton, which is obviously open now. Obviously, Cody Barton is competing for his spot too, but that spot next to Cody, what kind of linebacker are you looking for, and who are you expecting to rise up to take that spot next to Cody Barton?
Well, they've got Gray and Williams back there that are learning that thing. And the thing that's important to know is this defense. This is a multiple defense that Denard's going to play. So the one constant in this defense is the Mike backer. But with all the other packages he's going to play, there are going to be times when that next spot standing behind the line, it could be a safety if they're playing that nickel or dime package. But there's two young linebackers that they brought that last year that were rookies last year. Those two guys, this is their chance to step up and to earn some more playing time. That's what I'm looking forward to as this thing progresses into training camp.
This, of course, the Tennessee Titans got a special teams coordinator, John Fossil, Bones, as he's more well known, and he's known for his energetic style and creativity. How is his special teams unit progressing as we're entering Phase 3, and what extra steps will his unit need to take during this phase?
Well, first of all, they got to be solid. They got to be solid in protection. They got to be solid in coverage. That's extremely important to begin with. I think the addition of Johnny Hecker, because he's got all the clubs in the bag. You talk about golf. He can place that ball where you want to. And if you've got a guy that can place it with height, then that really helps your coverage. It helps your coverage schemes. Then you're able to scheme up some coverage things. And the other thing that Bones works on, Bones really, really works hard on the techniques that are involved in special teams, especially now that once they've changed, this kickoff return, it's extremely important. And also the way that you cover, the way that you kick and cover has to be in sync. That's what Bones is working on right now. His practices, they always start off with special teams practices. It's very, very high energy. You can tell that these guys have bought in to what Bones is putting them, is selling. And I've been with Bones long enough as a coach, a lot of years on the same coaching staff with Bones. He's one of those special teams coaches, Zach, that makes guys want to play on special teams. That's a huge part of it, too.
We're on with Coach Mack for his weekly Mac Attack, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Well, Coach, I guess I'm going to kind of be more specific here with keys for fans when they start watching, Cam Ward, when they see him making progress. What should they be looking for when they're looking for their number one overall pick eventually to be in the starting lineup? What progress does he need to make during OTAs?
Yeah, Blaine, first of all, with the rookie quarterbacks, it's timing and it's accuracy. Mm-hmm. And the timing is you don't want the bad habits of holding onto the ball, especially in the developmental stage. Timing and accuracy. Now, I don't expect people to look at him and to understand. I mean, if they're working on, or to be able to discern, if they're working on his lower half and his footwork, how it balances, with his throwing motion. But timing and accuracy, those are the two things I think that even the uneducated eye can look at quarterbacks, especially in a practice setting, and to see, is the ball coming out on time and is the ball accurate? Those are two things immediately that I would look for.
Some 90 experience, they're doing all this, 7-on-7, not a lot of contact, no pads on and everything else. How do the offensive linemen get preparation at this point in time? What are they working on when they're supposed to be in the trenches banging, and you can only get comfortable with banging? You know what I'm saying? So what are they working on?
They can't do that now, but
I know.
They're working on fundamentals, and I start every practice out by going down to the far end and sitting there and watching Bill Callahan with his precise drills that he does that relate exactly to what they're going to be asked to do, and he's very, very demanding with that. So being able to develop footwork and hand placement, and also as a group, coming off the ball, now they can work a lot where they, will put defensive players or simulating defensive players in front of them with pads so they can work off coming off with their angles. But there is so much technique that goes into playing the offensive line that people just don't really understand. But if you go and watch and really experience, and I've done this, ever since he's been here, and that's what really got me started, as being able to have some great background defensive coach in this league, is I started learning the way the offensive linemen, the way that they are taught, what they are taught to look at, how they are taught to counter things that go on defense. All of these things go on in Bill Callahan's individual periods. It's really, really fascinating to watch. As I said, I've spent over a year now watching him do this. The other thing, Blaine, that I like is he doesn't deviate. I mean, he will continue to drill into these guys so that it becomes second nature to him. That's what they're working on right now.
What did you think about that new award they're going to have now in the NFL with the Protector of the Year? What were your thoughts?
They're going to be interesting as to how they decide that. Mm-hmm. I mean, first of all, I don't know who the panel is that's going to do it, but the panel probably needs to be former offensive linemen. I mean, that is what I would say, because, the uninitiated, looking at it would really have no idea. So I'm all for anything that gives some recognition to those guys, because, and basically, as well as I do, they work a lot of times anonymously, and what they do, it all starts up there. It all starts up there, both offensively and defensively. I'm interested to see who the panel is, Blaine, that'll be deciding this.
Well, naturally, I guess, give us one guy under the radar on offense and on defense, whether they're in their second or third year, not a rookie guy, that you're kind of watching and, is kind of making moves up, the depth chart and starting to show a little bit of signs that he's finally getting it, here in the league on offense and defense.
Yeah, well, right now, today's the first day they've been going against one another. I mean, to me, it looks like most all of these rookies have come in here with some sort of base knowledge as to what they need. Mm-hmm. I think Gunnar Helm is a guy that we need to watch. We need to watch Gunnar Helm, and then I was impressed today in the 7-on-7 in Io Manor. just watching him, once it was in 7-on-7, there was other bodies out there going for the football. He made a real nice, contested catch, on a transcontinental, which goes, across the field. The DB was in great shape. I give the defensive back a lot of credit too, because what you want is you don't want contact, but you want people competing for the football. But Iron Manor again went up high, got it, pulled it down. Those two guys have impressed me. And then the two young rookie linebackers that we just talked about, to me, they've got a real good chance of doing something. I watch walkthroughs, and then I watch a lot of the adjustment periods. You've gone through a lot of those adjustment periods on defense where the coaches are putting people in motion, they're changing formations, their communication. I'm listening and wanting to be sure. I know this: if a young player is not talking on defense during an adjustment period, then he doesn't get it yet. These guys are pretty vocal right now. I like that today.
Great start there with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack.
Coach, another second-year player, JC Latham, has basically come in 20 pounds lighter than last year. He said that playing at 360 didn't seem like a problem to begin with, but it ended up becoming a problem as his rookie year went on. What kind of things have you seen or heard from JC Latham so far this offseason, and how excited should Titans fans be that pretty much the right side of the offensive line on paper looks to be the best it's going to be in years?
Yeah, I mean, he was visibly, you could just tell that he had put a lot of work in, Zach, this offseason. That's the first thing that comes out. And then plus, look, this is a big man that is really gifted as far as being able to have explosion, snap. But the way that he has configured his body now, and again, you watch this offensive line work. They are working from the time they hit the field till the time they go in. And he's the first guy in line. He's the first guy in drills. You can just tell that he has taken this part of it, which is really critical for second-year players to understand. I may have started all these games, but now I'm starting to understand what it takes to be successful for 18 weeks in this season. I really like what I've seen from him. And plus, it's the fact that he's consistently just works every day. He consistently works every day. And then when the practice is over, he's still doing something to try to perfect his craft. He was doing that last year. This year, with the changes that he has made as far as physical conditioning, I'm pretty excited watching him right now.
What have you seen from Tavondre Sweat, another second-year rookie on the other line for the defense? And we haven't heard a lot about Sweat or from Sweat this offseason, but what have you seen from him so far at these offseason practices?
Look, Tavondre to me is a guy that really proved last year. When and again, there was the conversation that this guy wasn't a guy that maybe would not have been able to last as far as conditioning in the National Football League. He has proven that is completely incorrect. So I expect him to continue right on that path, Zach.
JC Latham recently kind of talked on a podcast about the biggest challenge from going from college to pros was that transition of not pretty much having your hand being held. Everything was mapped out for him over at Alabama, from everything that he had to eat, when he had to eat it, what time he had to go to sleep, how much sleep he needed, all that kind of stuff. And here in the pros, it's kind of like you have so much freedom that if you don't have the self-discipline, you're likely you're going to struggle your first few years in the NFL, and you may find yourself outside of the NFL. How can teams, or how can a head coach kind of foster a little bit that self-discipline? Can they even? Is this really just a player-driven self-discipline kind of thing?
Well, a lot of it is in your vetting process, the type of person that you bring in, and then a lot of it is the environment too. But you said it there. That self-discipline is a huge key to success in the National Football League, because sooner or later it comes down to the player. And the thing that you've got to understand, you guys do, and I think your listeners are savvy enough to understand too. Other players on other teams are doing the same thing. So the standard is not only what your team is, the standard is what the other teams are meeting also. That's where the self-discipline comes in, is that you've got to be able to work through that grind daily. That grind daily. You've heard me say this before. Anytime I've been on programs that have been asked of something in this vein to talk about, I've seen more guys that had the physical ability to play in this league, but mentally could not handle the grind. That's why they didn't last very long.
The Tennessee Titans currently have 13 wide receivers on the roster. When you talk about, having 4 different quarterbacks, getting reps, you have these 13 wide receivers. At what point do you as a coach kind of like gear everything towards maybe one quarterback with one set of pass catchers to get that chemistry flowing? Or is this something where it's just constantly going to be an in and out rotation for not just the quarterbacks, but also the wide receivers?
Well, going through training camp, it's going to be, and then plus, I mean, everybody's got to get reps, because you especially once you start to figure out who's who in the zoo and you start getting closer into training camp, you want everybody trained up, because you got 17 games. And with 17 games, somebody at some point, everybody is going to be injured in some way or the other, as to where they can't be, or during a ball game. So everybody has to be ready to play. Everybody has to be ready to play. But you clearly will start to separate them. But you start to separate them once you start moving into training camp.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, Coach Mack. Of course, Coach Mack, you can listen to him on Titans Radio, the official Titans podcast. And then, of course, you'll be able to hear him every week here, 2:20 p.m. for his weekly Mac Attack, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer. Try to stay dry out there.
All right, guys. Appreciate both of you. See you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Coach.
When we come back, we'll talk about what it was like to play on a bad team for JC Latham for the first time in his life. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Guys, if something's holding you back from performing at your best, it's time to do something about it with performance enhancement treatment packages from Edge Peptide. Whether in the gym or on the course, with Edge Peptide and hormone therapy, you can show up stronger, feel better, recover faster, and stay in the game longer. You also can boost your energy, build a little lean muscle mass, and heal from those nagging injuries. You know what I'm talking about. And so as an athlete myself, I know how those injuries can affect your game. So if you're struggling with joint pain, suffering from a recent injury, or looking to recover faster after surgery, Edge has you covered. From peptide packages to PRP, stem cells, and high-film muscle stimulation, Edge is your exclusive Nashville area peptide specialist. And don't wait till summer to feel your best. And don't trust your health to some online pharmacy. And remember, at Edge, your consultation fee for $250 is waived with your initial order. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 615-724-1878, or you can go online at edgepeptide.com. But yes, that's 724-1878.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. And Jackson, would you, before we get into more JC Latham talk, would you like to take a victory lap for having the best draft of the flag football teams?
Thank you.
I think he probably, paid off people to come vote. He had 59.4% of the votes to get first place.
Well, when did we put something out?
Oh, that night or that day during the segment.
I didn't retweet it. So I didn't get my vote. So this is a botched deal. We will come back and reconvene tomorrow.
I would like, because Twitter was malfunctioning that day.
That is true. Twitter was malfunctioning that day. So I do think we need to do we need a recount. So
I'm open to a recount.
Okay, let's do a recount.
This is like the Pro Bowl. Just because you went to Pro Bowl don't mean there was another dude that was better than you. You just got outvoted.
Are you saying that he's the Snoop Huntley?
No, I'm saying that the process of what y'all did to determine who was the best was flawed.
Our methods were flawed.
Okay, so now that Twitter is fixed, let's redo the poll and we'll retweet it, because it looks like I didn't even retweet it, and I thought I did. So we both dropped the ball on this one. Maybe this was an us issue, not a.
Okay, well maybe it was.
Maybe it was.
Okay,
but Jackson did win. Of course, only had 32 votes.
We're not giving winners. He has not won nothing. We're redoing it tomorrow.
He sent it to all 30 of his friends to make sure that they voted for him.
I gotta see. It's just how to see this, man.
All right. So JC Latham, we had talked about it, but I want to hear it from his words on what it was like to play on a bad Titans team for really the first time in his life.
The shock hit me week 4 because we got our bye week 5. Yeah, and I remember we were 0-3, and last time I was 0-3 was like elementary school. So I was 0-3, and I told everybody we had to have an offensive meeting. So I told D-Hop and Rid and all the other guys to get their guys together. Let's have an offensive unit meeting so we can really set a standard for ourselves, because 0-3 isn't what we thought. And honestly, it wasn't like guys were not caring or whatever the case may be. We had a lot of mental issues and errors that we needed to correct. But guys were coming in early to work on the jug machine and staying late to do everything. So it's the talent and what we needed to do was there, but just the mental issues, the penalties and, lining up in the wrong place or not executing the right assignment. But the effort, honestly, like I said, nobody could have imagined we'd be 0-3 from our group, because it wasn't we were doing the wrong things. You wouldn't hear much about guys getting in trouble. We held each other accountable. So, we were trying to figure out what was going wrong. And then, D-Hop was hey, we need to start bonding more. You know what I mean? We got to do things more, together. And we won week 4. So I remember telling myself, I was I got to mentally go back and figure out what I'm doing wrong and correct and all that stuff.
I thought it was interesting that he was the one out of it all. And listen, maybe there wasn't as many veterans as we thought with in that offensive side of the football. But I do think that him being the one to approach Ridley and Hopkins speaks more about what we were talking about and what Coach Mack is also talking about his work ethic, about his leadership and all that kind of stuff, because that's huge. If I'm a Tennessee Titans fan, I can understand you may get bogged down with I can't believe they were 0-3 and had to have a team meeting. But I think that the fact, if you want to look on the bright side of things, is that, hey, they were 0-3, and one of your youngest, newest players, who at the time I believe was just 21, is trying to get a team meeting going so they can get out of this funk. And to me, I look at that and I go, that is a huge, huge positive sign going forward. And I think that when you talk about this team needing leaders, obviously JC Latham was already a leader last year, even more so than what we initially thought.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive to hear. And a lot of it is just being uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. And that was, he was not used to being considered a loser. Mm-hmm. And he was no can do. Even though I'm a rookie, I have something to say about this, and I want to see if I can do something about this to help our team be better. I know I'm not a loser, so And I know everybody's playing hard because that wasn't the case. Nobody ever said that the Titans didn't play hard. That's for sure. They played hard, and then with other players from other teams coming to, hey man, you guys are way better than 0-3. I don't know how you haven't won a game. Players were saying this to them. So they just didn't learn how to close in the games that they were in. They were close ones. So eventually there's little things you can do to bond. And that doesn't mean as teammates that you're going to still win some games, but you could say, you had your other brother on the other side there. And because sometimes you get disjointed. Everybody kind of goes a separate way and with their families and, got a good mix of young and old. So you're trying to figure out how we can all stay on the same page and have, the least amount of, let's say, errors or mistakes in a game that can cost you when you're not the most talented or one of the most talented teams in the league.
What did you think about him talking about the losses and how, they felt they were in it and then they just didn't close? If it was one thing, I think it was the Detroit game was one of the games that he brought up, is like, we were 28-14 and we couldn't close the deal on the 1 yard line, and then we couldn't score a touchdown come out of the gate. If we were able to do those two things, we're talking about a tied football game. And he talked about players coming up and saying that, hey, you guys weren't as bad as what we thought you were going to be. You guys actually played really hard. I mean, is that sort of a backhanded compliment, or is that, truth to power being spoken?
Well, I think it's truth to power. To be honest, I think that's just who players are, because when they got out there, they're going to walk through and just kind of blow out a team. Which in the Detroit game they did. To me, they showed they weren't mentally tough and they couldn't be resilient when something bad happens, and that continually happened throughout the season. So I think that is another sign of maturity within a team that can't withstand making mistakes and then recover. They could never recover when they made a mistake. He talked about it there. They just weren't good enough. They're just not, experienced enough to fight through those failings that could, maybe looking back on the game, you say that cost them the game. So that's kind of how I view it.
Yeah. Peter Skoronski spoke about the mental toughness. We've seen Nick Vannett talk about it too. Talking about those things, that doesn't change what your effort is, right? I mean, the effort and mental toughness aren't really connected strongly. I would say maybe some, but not connected really strongly, right? Is that the right way to look at it?
Well, I think when you turn on the film, if you want to call it connected or not, there's a no die, no give up mentality that you're going to turn on the film, and regardless of where you're at in the game, getting beat 40 to nothing, you're playing the exact same way. So you can call that mental toughness or not. I think some players kind of dial it back a little bit when the game is at hand. But to me, there's no way, no how that ever was going to happen. And I would demand it. It's just you're going to have conversations that are uncomfortable with players. Like, hey man, we need to turn this thing up. This is why we're not winning. You should be so pissed off that we're getting smoked that you should take it out on another team. Not sulk and cry. Yeah, so that's kind of that shouldn't happen. Now, to me, I think it's interconnected. With Cam Ward,
being able to have a couple of games under his belt at the collegiate level in a comeback style where they're down, like the Big Cal game, right? They're down by 21 points and they make a comeback and win the game. How much of that can you carry with you to the pros?
None. Yeah, I'll say this. You must prove you can do it in the league. Doesn't matter what you did. Nobody knows what you did there. But when you do it in the league, then it may give you confidence that you can do it. But until you do it for your new teammates, does it really matter?
And it's kind of like what JC Latham said too, right? I mean, he said, "Hey, I got away with playing for 360 pounds, and because I got away with it in college, I thought I could get away with it in the pros." And maybe if you were to translate that and give advice to Cam Ward, it's like some of the throws you have on tape that you think you can get away with in college, you're likely not to get away with it in the pros. When the pocket is collapsing, you're putting your ball down near your knees, how you put the ball down. That's more than likely going to be a fumble because someone's swatting at it. So maybe a little lesson for Cam Ward to take from JC Latham there.
Well, I think the part that's missing here is you must reprove yourself, not only your rookie year, but every year you're in the National Football League.
Every year is a prove-it year.
Yeah. You need to reprove that what you did the year before is justified and that you're going to be better than that year and improve, because there's always some facet of your game as an athlete that you can improve in. There's no way around it. And you may never accomplish that, but striving for it should always be in your hands.
I love it. 3HL's up next. They all have Tony Vitello, Tennessee baseball coach, on at 5 p.m. Other than that, this has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime,
and in between time,
peace.